Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I am Andrew Hansen alongside Shane Caldwell, and it's Saturday, November 7th, 2020, and this is our primetime episode, getting ready for the Sunday night and Monday night games. And we've got a lot of stars in game one, Shane. Exciting situation here with New Orleans and Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that's you just this. I mean, when you look at Tampa Bay, it's just ridiculous. I mean, I know Antonio Brown's had his issues, but in terms of he's still historically one of the best wide receivers, really of all time. And you pair him with Chris Godwin coming back, who's a really good player, and Mike Evans, and then you throw in a Rob Gronkowski as another target, and the running backs they have. Then you throw in the GOAT as their captain, as their quarterback there. So
Yeah.
that's just crazy. And you don't see the New Orleans Saints, who is a really good football team, who they're getting healthy. You don't see them as underdogs this much in terms of the Vegas total being 4.5-point underdogs here against Tampa Bay. That tells you how loaded Tampa Bay is and how good they are right now. So, but in terms of the star power here, you got Michael Thomas likely to come back as well. I mean, look at the star power you have for between the running backs and quarterbacks, wide receivers. This is just looking like a awesome game. So I think the folks over at NBC got the better of the deal here, because the other game we're going to talk about in the primetime slate is ESPN's game, which is the New England Patriots at the New York Jets. That game doesn't look quite as attractive. That's probably an understatement as this Sunday night game looks here.
Yeah, seriously, really interesting contrast between these two primetime games. But what we're going to do, of course, is help you build lineups for the two-game slate. Got some nice big contests there to attack. And then hopefully this preview will help you build your showdown lineups as well. If you want our actual lineups for the primetime slate and the showdown slates, then we invite you to join us as a member, dfscoachtalk.com. Get a weekly, monthly membership, or you go with the winter special. Takes you all the way through the Super Bowl. And perhaps one of these teams here in the first game will be playing in that game in Tampa. Saints and the Bucks certainly vying for that opportunity. So I'd love to have you as a member. What we do is we give out a full lineup on FanDuel, a cash lineup, a GPP lineup, and we give a core group of players to use on DraftKings for each slate. So I invite you to do that. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube if you would, so you can be notified of our other podcasts. We do 6 NFL shows per week, and we've already done shows for the main slate on Sunday by position. So check out our quarterbacks podcast, our running backs show, and our wide receiver and tight end show to get you ready for the main slate. So hopefully you've done that. What we're doing with this show is we're trying to get you ultra prepared for a fun slate here, a fun weekend, so you can hammer the main slate and then get after the primetime slate here as well. So as we start to look more in depth at game one, Shane, I want to thank our presenting sponsor, BetUS.com.pa. Wonderful place to go for your sports wagering and casino needs. And if you look at their line here for game one, it is Tampa favored by 4.5 at home. Over under is 50. And just to compare it to game two here, on Monday night, the Patriots are 8.5-point favorites on the road against the Jets with a total of only 42. So we're certainly looking for more scoring and more fantasy output in game one. And so we're going to start with you, Shane, to try to figure out where exactly to look in game one. And as you mentioned, basically all the stars are out. Michael Thomas is going to be back in. Emmanuel Sanders is going to be back in off the COVID list. And then we get to see the debut of Antonio Brown. Chris Godwin has been questionable with the finger, but we do think he's going to play. So Brady should have all of his weapons. And, man, this one is going to be fun.
Yeah, and I think that if you think New Orleans is going to be down in this game, then Alvin Kamara is, their star running back who's great in the passing game. If you're going to be able to get some running back production, it's hard just to pound it up the middle, but Kamara is going to be heavily involved in the passing game here, and he's obviously the most explosive running back they have, one of the best in the game. So Alvin Kamara is in play. Of course, the only problem, depending on which slate you're looking at, the 2-game slate, he's pretty expensive. So your lineup construction is going to be tough if you're trying to jam in, Tom Brady, and you're trying to jam in all these top wide receivers. It's going to get a little bit tight there. So that decisions are going to have to be made. But I think Alvin Kamara is a priority because he does a little bit of everything. And Tampa Bay is tough against the run, but New Orleans has pretty good run blocking. So I think Kamara can still get some rushing yards, and he's going to have a ton of work in the passing game, even though Michael Thomas likely is back. And that leads me back to Michael Thomas. We haven't seen Michael Thomas in a while. He was a superstar. He's looking like pretty much almost undisputed number one wide receiver. And all of a sudden he starts having all kinds of different injuries popping up, and issues in the locker room and all kinds of different rumors. But you know what? I think he's back, and hopefully he's got his act together. This is a game where he should be up. If he looks at the wide receivers and the guys on the other side, even though he's not matched up against them, I think he'll be motivated to prove that he is the best wide receiver in this particular game and still one of the best receivers out there. So I think he clicks right away. Now, this is a really tough matchup for Michael Thomas. Those those corners for Tampa Bay are legit. I mean, they're big, kind of lengthy, more physical type receivers. They're not speed guys. So you would think they would match up good with Michael Thomas as that short area, slant type guy, short possession receiver type guy. Because Michael Thomas isn't like a burner, quick guy that gets you down the field. But Michael Thomas is physical enough and as good a route running as anyone out there, so he can still beat these guys. So I will be interested in playing Michael Thomas as long as he's active, obviously. And then it's just a matter of, do you want to look at Drew Brees? He's been kind of up and down this year. But if he's got his main man back, Michael Thomas, and he's going to pass to Kamara, and he's got Emmanuel Sanders back, you have to take a look at Drew Brees if you want to be a little bit different and not play Tom Brady here. So you have Drew Brees, and then you still have Jared Cook. You're not going to have a lot of tight ends that look good on this slate. So Jared Cook is still in play. Obviously, it'll be Jared Cook versus Gronk, that type of debate, which one you want to play there. And then, you could take a look at Emmanuel Sanders if he's going to come back here as well. So, pretty much all these guys are in play. It's just a matter of lineup construction, which Tampa Bay guys you're going to stack and which New Orleans guys you like here, because these guys are pretty much all in play. But I would say if I had to choose one, I'm still going Alvin Kamara. But again, I like Michael Thomas here as well.
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean Kamara here, and certainly not for what he might do on the ground, as Tampa is just terrific in that department. I think it'll be through the air. He's just been incredible catching passes this year. And in that week one matchup against Tampa, he had 23 fantasy points on DraftKings, but it was mostly from his receptions. He caught 5 for 51, got in the end zone. So I think that'll be the way they'll get him involved. Again, he won't get as many targets as he's been getting with Thomas and Sanders back in the lineup. So they'll kind of eat into each other's production here a bit. And, with this matchup, I am concerned with Michael Thomas. He's a great price on DraftKings for the primetime slate at $6,900, much cheaper than Kamara. So that makes you stop and think a little bit. But I'll probably go Kamara if I'm going to go to either one of those guys. But they are expensive here, and like you said, it really kind of takes away from the opportunity to get more exposure to that Tampa passing game on the other side, which I like. So, the other thing I'm looking at here is Jared Cook. He was much better in week one, 5 for 80. He's been pretty solid this year. Great big target. Brees really likes throwing to him. So I'll get some Jared Cook for sure. Now, on that Tampa side, talk to me about this passing game with everybody back and all these stars. How do you think it might sort out?
Yeah, it comes down to these matchups in the secondary. New Orleans secondary has kind of struggled at times. Surprisingly, Marshawn Lattimore's been burned this year and hasn't been great. But I think Lattimore's starting to get healthy, starting to play a little bit better, and he's traditionally shut down Mike Evans. So that's going to be another one of the decisions here. Are you going to play Mike Evans? He's looked pretty good. He's their main red zone target. He's looked good with Brady, but he doesn't necessarily get a ton of volume when Chris Godwin plays. So I don't really like the Marshawn Lattimore matchup, even though this year on paper it looks good. Historically, he's done really well against Mike Evans and pretty much shut him down. So I'll probably not have a lot of Mike Evans exposure, but I will take a look at Chris Godwin coming back from injury. Looks like he's fully healthy now. I don't know if he's going to have some type of brace on his, what was it, his thumb or, whatever. He had an injury there, but I think he'll be fine. He's been practicing in full. So I like Chris Godwin to play, and I like him in the slot mostly, and lining up against Gardner Johnson, the slot corner for New Orleans here. So that's a great matchup. So they can really exploit that. So I think that they will get Godwin's going to get the most targets here and be the most productive. So I think Brady will look to him early and often. So I think Godwin's the guy here for me for Tampa Bay. And I wouldn't be afraid to play Antonio Brown. I know he's really only going to get 2 or 3 practices in. But Antonio Brown, I mean, he's like a street baller. He just walks on the field, and Tom Brady already likes him. I don't know, for whatever reason, Tom Brady just loves Antonio Brown. I think he's living in his guest room right now or something. Right. So Tom Brady, I think, will throw the ball to this guy. And Antonio Brown, if there's one thing he can do, he can just get open. He's just so quick, his release off the line, and he's still one of the better receivers out there. We haven't seen him in a while. The guy has a lot of issues. But the bottom line is the guy is still a good football player, and he showed that last year with the Patriots when he had a cup of coffee with them, that he can just go out there and produce. So even though he's going to have limited snaps, when they're out there, they will have designed plays for Antonio Brown, and Tom Brady's going to target him, and he's probably going to get open because that's what Antonio Brown does. So even though it's super high, really risky here and very limited practice time, I still like Antonio Brown in this game, which sounds crazy, but that's kind of where I'm at with it here. And then we can look to Gronk. He's looked great lately as well. He's in a good matchup. New Orleans struggles against the tight end, and obviously you don't have very many tight ends to choose from, so you can get some exposure to Gronk here. And then it's going to come down to Tampa Bay's running backs. Ronald Jones has looked pretty good in games where they've gotten up, so you would think they would run the ball. New Orleans is pretty tough against the run, though, so it makes me still like Leonard Fournette a little bit better because Leonard Fournette runs the ball good, and he's a lot better as a pass catcher here. So I like Leonard Fournette's role as he continues to get healthy and get more and more involved in this offense, and he's a really cheap price. So I still prefer Leonard Fournette here, even though Ronald Jones has looked good this year. I think Leonard Fournette is eating into his timeshare and getting more and more playing time here. So, I mean, this Tampa Bay offense is loaded, so you got to pick your spots where you think the production is going to go, because it looks like they're going to score a ton of points. And they just have superstars galore. So you got to choose the right ones. And like I said, I probably prefer Godwin here the best.
Okay. Yeah, I see Godwin. I certainly prefer him over Evans, but I'm going to get some decent exposure to Brown here. Like you said, he's just a baller. And it's not this new relationship where he's never played it down with Brady. They had the time in New England together, and he's been living with Tom Brady in both spots. So, he's at least got that figured out, right? I mean, he's had all these issues, but he knows, why don't I kind of trail around the GOAT and maybe even live with him? So
are they playing catch in the backyard then? There by the ocean and Derek Jeter's mansion, just playing catch all day.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, that's what he's doing. So you can't blame him. So I think they'll jump right in, and I think they'll take advantage of the fresh legs. And why not? If Godwin's limited at all with the finger issue, Evans in a tough matchup, I think they go to Antonio Brown and try to get some production from him. And then, like you mentioned, great matchup for Gronk. New Orleans has given up 6 touchdowns to tight ends already, so you could add him to the mix. I also prefer Fournette to Jones. So, we're pretty much aligned there. And bottom line, going to get a bunch of exposure to this one as opposed to Game 2. So before we get into Game 2, let's hear from our partners at BetUS.com.pa.
Wake up, sports bettors. Sports are in high gear at BetUS.com, so put down the beer and make every sporting event more exciting by putting stakes on the line at BetUS. Earn bragging rights over your friends as you rake in the cash from each week's betting action. But don't settle for any other book. Choose America's favorite sports book with over 25 trusted years in the industry, BetUS. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity, but more importantly, you need a sports book that pays. BetUS has your game with action on football, baseball, basketball, MMA, golf, horse racing, and even esports. No other sportsbook welcomes newcomers like BetUS with their jaw-dropping sign-up bonuses. Sign up now with promo code CoachTalk for 125% sign-up bonus up to $2,000. The best in the biz. Now you have the best book in the business with the best DFS provider in the business, Coach Talk. Create your account to make point spread bets, futures bets, prop bets, entertainment bets, live bets, and more. No other sportsbook is as committed to their members as BetUS. Sign up now and get in on the winning side of the ball.
Welcome back, and thank you to BetUS.com.pa for that offer. For our listeners, be sure to use that promo code CoachTalk, all one word, to get that 125% match on your first deposit. All right, Shane, game 2 here, not quite as exciting as game 1. Again, looking at the BetUS.com.pa lines, it is the Patriots minus 8.5 right now as we record this on Saturday. Over under set at 42. And just imagine here if Tom Brady and the Buccaneers win on Sunday night, Brady will kind of sit back on the couch and watch this Monday night game and watch the Patriots and their mess of wide receivers compared to who the group that he was just throwing to. What a comparison.
Yeah, Antonio Brown will be making the popcorn in the other room. It'll be a date night for them.
Yeah.
They can sit there and laugh at the Patriots here in the New York Jets. So this is looking like a nice little division rival here, and it doesn't look like a very competitive game. I think that's one of the only teams where New England, who doesn't look great either, can play and be huge favorites just because the New York Jets are looking like probably the worst team in the league here. So
seriously.
So
at 2-5.
Yeah, 2-5. So if you could get some showdown action, it might make the game a little more interesting. That's the only thing that I can say in terms of the bright spot is maybe you can get some good showdown lineups and have a couple guys out of this lineup for the primetime slate. It'll make it a little bit more watchable and bearable.
Yeah, but with the 2-game slate, of course, we have to get some exposure to this game. The Patriots defense is the leading candidate for me, dealing with Darnold or Flacco, whoever plays. We think it's going to be Darnold. But in the showdown slate, if you're going to play that, or even in the 2-game slate, let's look at the best option for these offenses. I think on the Patriots side, it is the passing attack. Jets are not good against the pass. The problem is that Cam Newton is a bit of a mess right now and, coughed up the game against Buffalo with that late fumble. Very unfortunate there. But good matchup on paper. The problem is, Antonio Brown is not there. He's gone. Edelman's injured. They've just got this backup cast of characters. Jacoby Myers, I thought, actually looked pretty good against Buffalo. And Cam does have some chemistry with Damiere Byrd, so I think you could do worse in a 2-game slate than using one of those guys. So I like Myers here as if I'm only going to play one guy from the Patriots passing attack, that's who I'd go with there. And then with the rushing attack, Sony Michel is back and practicing. He's got the questionable tag right now because of that quad injury. But I'm still hoping that Damian Harris will get the lead. The problem is he's quite expensive, so you really have to strategize about if you want to get that lead rusher for the Patriots. At least last week, he had that nice game against Buffalo, went over 100 yards. I didn't think he looked amazing. He was just sort of the guy in the role, getting the volume. But he got it done, and I think that's all the Patriots really need is, give us 4.5 yards per carry, and let's just grind out this win, and we'll go home happy. But those are my thoughts on the Patriots. Do you have any different perspective there?
Yeah, I like Damian Harris. I would make him a priority in this game just because they're big favorites. The game script calls for it, and you just got to hope that Cam Newton doesn't vulture his touchdowns. But I think he's going to be their goal line running back, besides Cam Newton. So hopefully he hands the ball off instead of keeping it, basically, Cam Newton, to give it to Harris. But, yeah, I like Damian Harris. I think he looks pretty solid. He's a pretty physical he's got good size. He's pretty quick for his size. I like him as a running back, and I like the New England offensive line against this New York Jets front. They have a big run blocking advantage here. So it's looking like a game where, they're going to pass some, but I don't think they're going to really have to pass much. Because the New England defense might score more points than the offense. Who knows? But I could see this be a running game. There's no reason to air it out much. So I like Damian Harris. I think that's why he's priced up a little bit because of the game script and the situation. And it's still a pretty good matchup. I think they can definitely run on him.
All right. Well, let's save the best for last, or maybe not with these Jets. Anybody you're looking at here on that side of the ball?
You could look at LaMichael P. Ryan. I know that Frank Gore, the ageless one, popped up on the injury report. He might just be resting, but it might be a legitimate actual injury. They don't have any reason to force play him. So LaMichael P. Ryan looks like the best running back on the Jets. I know that's not saying much, but he's pretty cheap. They also have a run blocking advantage against New England's front. New England's not really that great against the run either. So the Jets, they do want to run the ball, and occasionally their running backs look decent. So he might be able to get some production on the ground game here. And then if the Jets can get back some of their wide receivers, Jamison Crowder's their best wide receiver. It's a brutal matchup. Don't get me wrong. New England is not a secondary you want to target, but Jamison Crowder's if he comes back from the injury, he's a good wide receiver, so he could produce a decent game. He's probably not going to be in a blow-up spot, but he's the type of guy that might be able to get you 50 yards and maybe a touchdown. And that's probably all you need here to set yourself apart to play a New York Jet. And you can also monitor Rashad Perriman. He's supposed to be their top outside wide receiver. He's been out with a concussion. I think he's going to clear the concussion protocol. That's what it looks like to me. He's practicing in full, so he's on track to clear. And he's only $3,600. Like if you're looking at the primetime DK pricing, he's cheap. So you could play Rashad Perriman and hope that he could maybe hit a couple deep passes or hit some of those slants. He's a good talented wide receiver. Obviously, he's looked horrible this year, but if you're just, you're scratching a claw and trying to find some good plays here for the Jets, and I'll take their guys, their most talented guys. I know they're not a real talented team, but I'll take the best guys on their team and maybe play one of them and hope he does something.
Yeah, you talk about hoping. You got to also hope that Sam Darnold doesn't see ghosts.
Right? I know. He probably will. Yeah.
He probably will on Monday night. Oh, what a tough situation for these Jets. Wouldn't really want to be a part of that organization.
The NFL surprised you every week, though, so you never know. The Jets could be competitive in this game because as bad as the Jets are, New England doesn't look great either. And if, let's say, a scenario comes back where Crowder and Perriman are at least being competitive in Sam Darnold, he might be able to move the ball a little bit. I'm just saying he might be able to. I don't know for sure. I'm just saying I could see that game playing out where the Jets get up for this game and are actually competitive and don't get blown out. So I'm saying there is that scenario in play here. That the New England defense isn't like they were last year where they just completely annihilated Sam Darnold. He might have a chance to try to move the ball a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of qualifiers there.
No, it is. I have to put the qualifiers in. I'm just saying. So you're saying he has a chance.
Yeah, right. Bottom line is, we try to bring you the GPP perspective here. Shane certainly doing that. In my primary build, I am going to go with the Patriots defense, though, and figure that they will figure out a way to, limit the Jets' output and control the clock, run the ball, and prevent the Jets from having any real fantasy output. So. I'm going to try to fade the Jets as much as I can and enjoy doing it. So that's the breakdown for Game 2 for us. Again, we invite you to join us as a member for our lineups for the primetime slate as well as the individual showdown games on both FanDuel and DraftKings. Looking forward to finalizing those lineups this weekend with you, Shane. And on YouTube, again, if you would hit that subscribe button, we'd certainly appreciate it. And then we'd also enjoy interacting with you on social media. You can find Shane on Twitter at DET Sports Shane. I'm at Language Olympic. The coach of DFS Coach Talk is available at JOESARVADI. And you can find all of us at DFS Coach Talk. Shane, any final thoughts here on the primetime slate?
I can't wait to watch New Orleans and Tampa Bay, and I can't wait to build those different game stacks. As this is going to be a fun one to watch for real life and for fantasy purposes.
No doubt about it. Yep. And our charity of choice here, mambaon3.org, MAMBAONTHREE.org. And thank you again to our presenting sponsor, BetUS.com.pa. All right, Shane, terrific work. And on behalf of Shane and the rest of the DFS Coach Talk team, I'm Andrew Hansen. Thank you for joining us, and be sure to tune in next time as we look to crush it in DFS.